The vintage leather duffel bag hit the plush carpet with a soft thud, the sound swallowing the room's oppressive silence. Alara's hands were shaking so badly she could barely work the zipper. She didn't look at the panoramic view of the ocean outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, the view that Kaylin loved, the view that cost $50 million, the view that she couldn't enjoy because the glass was bulletproof and the windows didn't open. She just needed to get the passport, the stack of cash, and the photo of her grandmother inside. She had 3 minutes. The security sensors were on a loop she had spent months hacking. 3 minutes before the silence alarm tripped. She shoved a gray hoodie in, covering the diamond bracelet Kaylin had clamped onto her wrist that morning. It felt cold against her skin, heavy like a shackle. "Just breathe," she whispered to herself, her heart hammering against her ribs like a trapped bird. "Just get to the elevator. Silas is on break. You can do this." Before we see if Alara makes it past the most dangerous man in the city, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You do not want to miss a single second of this escape attempt. Like the video right now if you're rooting for her freedom. Alara zipped the bag. She turned toward the door, her muscles coiled to run. The elevator chimed. The sound was soft, polite, and absolutely terrifying. Alara froze, the blood draining from her face. It was 2 p.m. Kaylin wasn't supposed to be back until midnight. The gala didn't even start for another 4 hours. The heavy mahogany doors slid open. Kaylin Voss stood there. He wasn't wearing his usual pristine tuxedo jacket. His tie was undone, hanging loosely around his neck, and his sleeves were rolled up to reveal the dark ink of tattoos winding up his forearms. He didn't look tired. He looked predatory. His eyes, dark as onyx, swept the room instantly. They landed on the unmade bed, then the open safe, and finally they locked onto the duffel bag in Alara's hand. The air in the penthouse instantly dropped 10 degrees. "Going somewhere, Alara?" Kaylin asked, his voice terrifyingly calm, a low rumble that vibrated in his chest. Alara took a step back, her grip on the bag tightening. I was just cleaning out the closet." Kaylin stepped into the room, the door slid shut behind him with the finality that sounded like a prison cell locking. He walked toward her, not rushing, just closing the distance with the inevitable momentum of a landslide. "Cleaning," he repeated, tilting his head, "with a passport and $50,000 in cash. Did you think I wouldn't notice the loop on the security feed? Did you think I was that careless with you?" "I can't do this anymore, Kaylin," Alara snapped, the fear turning into a desperate anger. She dropped the bag. "I can't breathe here. You have guards watching me sleep. You track my phone. You track my car. I don't want them raising guns before they can walk. I don't want them to have targets on their backs just because their last name is Voss." "They are Vosses," Kaylin said, his voice rising, thick with possessiveness. "They are my blood, my legacy." He closed the distance between them instantly, grabbing her shoulders. This time, his grip was desperate. "You aren't leaving," he declared, his voice shaking. "You are never leaving. Do you hear me? Protocol 0, now." He grabbed his phone and barked into it. "Silas, Protocol 0. Lock down the penthouse. Steel shutters on the windows. Cut the elevators. Triple the guard detail in the hallway. No one comes in or out without my biometric scan. If a fly gets in here, I will kill everyone on the payroll." "Kaylin, stop," Alara pleaded, grabbing his arm. "You can't lock me in here. I'm not a prisoner." "You are the mother of my heirs," Kaylin said, looking down at her with a look that was half worship, half madness. "You are the most valuable thing on this planet. I will build a fortress around you so thick that God himself couldn't get in." "This is insane," Alara wept, backing away until she hit the wall. "You're suffocating me." "I'm protecting you," Kaylin corrected, pacing the room, his energy manic. "I need to get Dr. Aris here. We need a nursery, 2 nurseries. I need to reinforce the south wall." He was spiraling, his obsession taking over. Alara watched him, realizing with horror that her escape plan hadn't just failed, it had backfired. She had just handed him the chains to bind her forever. But before Kaylin could make another call, the floor beneath them shook. A low booming thud reverberated through the steel beams of the high-rise. The crystal chandelier above the dining table swayed violently, tinkling like wind chimes in a hurricane. Kaylin stopped pacing. His head snapped toward the door. His survival instincts, honed by years of war, took over instantly. The obsession vanished, replaced with cold, lethal calculation. "That wasn't thunder," he said quietly. "What was it?" Alara whispered, the color draining from her face. Another boom, closer this time. The lights flickered and died, plunging the penthouse into the gray gloom of the overcast afternoon. The emergency red lights bathed the room in the color of blood. Silas's voice screamed over the intercom on the wall. "Breach! Boss, we have a breach! The Corsetti Syndicate just blew the lobby doors. They're in the elevator shaft. They're climbing." Kaylin cursed, reaching under the antique side table and pulling a handgun taped to the wood. He racked the slide back. "Grab your shoes," Kaylin ordered, his voice devoid of emotion. "We're leaving." "I thought you said I was never leaving," Alara stammered. He sat there for a moment, gripping the steering wheel, his breathing ragged. Then he turned to Alara. He looked exhausted. The adrenaline was fading, leaving behind a raw, exposed nerve. "Are you hurt?" he asked, his voice rough. "No," Alara said quietly. "Kaylin, back there, you protected me. I failed." Kaylin slammed his hand against the steering wheel, startling her. "I let them breach the perimeter. I let them get close to you, to the twins." He opened his door and got out, pacing in the gravel. Alara stepped out into the chill mountain air. She watched him. Without his army, without his suit, without his fortress, he looked smaller. He looked like a man on the edge of a breakdown. "We need to get inside," Kaylin said, his voice hollow. "I need to secure the perimeter. There are no cameras here, just tripwires." Inside, the cabin was freezing. Kaylin went straight to the fireplace, stacking wood with shaking hands. Alara sat on the dusty couch, wrapping her arms around herself. "Kaylin," she said softly, "talk to me. You're scaring me." "I should be," he muttered, lighting the match. "I'm losing control, Alara. I can feel it." "Why are you so obsessed with control?" she asked, the question hanging in the air. "Why do you treat me like something you have to lock away?" Kaylin froze. He stared into the flames for a long time. Then he stood up and walked over to a bookshelf in the corner. He pulled out a worn, black leather journal. He didn't hand it to her. He just tossed it on the coffee table. "Read the last entry," he said, his back turned to her. Alara picked it up. The leather was cracked with age. She opened it to the bookmark. It was dated 10 years ago. Taped to the page was a photo of a young girl with bright eyes and a smile that looked remarkably like Kaylin's. Mia, age 19. Alara read the messy scrawl beneath the photo. They took her while she was walking to her car. Just 10 minutes. The detail was changing shifts. A 10-minute gap in the armor. That's all it took. The Corsetti family took her. They sent her back in pieces. They said it was the price of doing business. I swore that day. I swore I would never leave a gap again. I would never let anything I love be exposed to the air. If I have to bury them in concrete to keep them breathing, I will. Alara gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. She looked up at Kaylin's rigid back. "Your sister, Mia." Kaylin turned. She pulled it out. It was a message from an unknown number. She opened it. A video file played. It was a deep fake. A digitally created video of Alara speaking to a rival mob boss, laughing, and handing over a DNA test. The audio was perfect. "They aren't Kaylin's. They're yours. He's just the fool paying for them." Alara's blood ran cold. Kaylin, look at this. Kaylin took the phone. He watched the video. The peace in his eyes fractured. The trauma, the fear of betrayal, the paranoia, it all came rushing back, darker and deadlier than before. He looked at Alara, and this time, he didn't see his wife. He saw a threat. "Is this true?" he whispered, his voice sounding like dead leaves sliding over pavement. "No, it's a deep fake, Kaylin. Look at the pixels," Alara cried, grabbing his arm. He shoved her away, hard. She stumbled back onto the couch. "Get out," Kaylin said, standing up. He grabbed his gun. "Get out of my sight before I kill you." "Kaylin, please." "Silas!" Kaylin roared, even though Silas was outside guarding.